authenticity lives and thrives to create a space of growth, healing, and joy. I am your host, Andrea Lawful Sanders, and each day we will cover the topics that are informative and engaging while learning from each other. Good morning to each and every one of you. It is Thursday, September 25th, 2025, and it is my youngest grandchild's birthday. Happy birthday, repeat. I'm telling you, of the four, now almost five grandchildren, wait, three, yeah, we have a fifth one coming. Of the four, almost five grandchildren that we have, Repeat is the one that I think everybody needs to watch out for. Long before she turned two, she was saying her alphabet. She could push, identify her numbers and her letters, and she could identify words and animals and all the things. And she's always counting. And her favorite numeral is zero. And so, Viola, when you turn this on, you'll hear me. Thank you so much for the zero that you made for her. I would love if I'm going to give it back to you so we can stuff it. I don't know how to stuff it so that it's not like a plump zero, not a flat zero. But that was perfect. I just need to put, maybe I can do it myself. I can put some stuff inside to make it a plumper zero instead of a flat one. But I'm going to give it to her. I think I'll have to do it myself because I want to give it to her tomorrow. So happy birthday to my darling Repeat. You are the joy of all of our lives, and we can't wait to see what you continue to do as you grow. It is Thursday. So much is going on, and we do have Cherie Syfax on this morning for the Love Is segment. In fact, let me let her know because I haven't spoken to her yet this morning, and I'm just, who child, people are dying all around us. I got calls yesterday about two deaths, and folks who are going, just stuff happening. So I have funerals that are coming up, and I guess it's a part of life, except the people that are dying are like young, they're not living to ripe old ages. Um whew. So we're just navigating through all of that. And yesterday, so you've heard me talking about uh I went to the hospital yesterday for an appointment, and our health insurance is out of control. I just need you to know I pay a ton of money every month for my healthcare premiums, a ton of money that you can't even. And yet I went to the hospital, and as I was paying my copay, the lady says you owe $10. I asked her to go look. It was for my primary care physician, and the date that she gave me told me that that was my well visit. You go once a year to get a well visit. They encourage you to do so. On that visit, it's a free visit. You don't have to make a copay, and yet I had a copay of $10. Now, it might not seem like anything to most of you, but I couldn't understand why I had a copay of $10 when it was a well visit. My girl said, um, could it possibly be that you asked questions that were not related to the well visit? And I was like, well, what? She said, if you ask any other question, like, I'm having problems breathing, it's no longer considered a well visit and it's considered a sick visit, and the insurance companies charge differently. And so I posted it on my social media page, and my God, when I came back and looked, the conversation that was being had was not only robust, it was a little frightening, right? People are dealing with this stuff, and I couldn't understand why no one that in my line of vision was talking about it. It's crazy. So I am going to read a little bit of this as I posted it. There were 68 comments when I came back. 68, right? People are really dealing with a lot out here. Someone made a comment. Marion Conway says, I was told by my primary care physician that I had too many questions regarding issues, and she would mark my visit as a sick visit instead of a physical. All I could think was, how was now I have to wait another 3-4 months for physical. That's the other thing. It takes so long to get an appointment. You call and you say, I have to schedule a well visit, or even if something is wrong, they're giving you appointments 6 months out, 4 months out, 3 months. It's crazy. Absolutely crazy, right? She said, because she couldn't do a physical because I had too many issues regarding things that were bothering me. Huh? Okay. Dana says the same thing happened to me here in Charlotte at my annual a few weeks ago. So I didn't ask questions regarding my labs at the office. I went home and did a one-on-one online at no cost, covered by insurance. Insane. So she had to go into the portal, and a lot of people, present company included, does not like going into the portal because you're reading things that you don't understand, and you're probably having a heart attack going, what does this mean, right? So there's that. Marsha says it happens to me, make no sense. Keturah was talking about her dental plan, that it was crazy. So everybody is saying pay attention to the coding and what they're charging. It's highway robbery. I don't think this was coded. Rhonda McCullough Anderson made me cackle to the blue corn moon. She says, I have a bill for $350 for a telehealth visit. Took about 90 seconds that my primary care doctor's office told me to schedule. She said, take it up with Jesus. I'll file bankruptcy before I pay it. And folks are just, and you understand why this is insane. Who? Jocelyn says, they once charged me $300 because they scheduled me to come back after a mammogram. I growled like a bear and they waived the charge. Most people would have just said, okay. I was like, no, I didn't ask for a follow-up. Y'all did. So I want you now to pay attention what's going on. Randy Hayes Martin says they may as well hold us at gunpoint. So we're paying this exorbitant amount for our premiums, right? Because some of us, entrepreneur over here, we don't work for an organization, so we have to pay for our insurance costs out of pocket. So we pay for the premium, pay a whole lot of money, and then we go to the doctor and they nickel and dime us to death, or told us we can't have conversations about certain things. Oh, it's not a well visit, or you have to come back for something else. You have to make another appointment for something else while you're sitting in front of the doctor that could help you with the thing that you're having the problem with. Make it make sense. It just doesn't, right? Someone wrote something that made me cry. I read that and I was like, wow. I'm just looking for it. Oh my God. Yeah. And Michael McGill, who was, 115 days of making sure his grandmother stayed alive. He said, say it louder, Andrea, one damn illness away from going broke. This healthcare system is abysmal. I've seen it better in many South American countries that some folks would call third world. We'll have to figure it out. Okay. This is the one. Shonda Jones says, this has happened recently to two of my loved ones that are trying to take control of their health, yet unable to get any help. The doctor only stays in the room less than 5 minutes, barely touches you, and doesn't allow you to ask any questions. She called me from the parking lot crying. I'm convinced that they want us just well enough to work, but not to live. It's insane. And this continues to happen. So I think my doctors marked something in my chart after I had gone to see an ear, nose, and throat doctor for wax buildup in my ear. And the doctor walked in and he barely said hello. And then he went in front of his screen and he was looking at the screen and and I went to talk to him. And he says, puts up his finger like, don't disturb me. And then I said, no, you can't touch me without sitting and having a conversation with me. This is not how this works. I'm not paying my health insurance premiums for you to come in here and then act like I'm a subhuman. And so they have it in my charts. When whatever doctor comes in, good morning, Mrs. Sanders. How are you doing? I said, fine, thank you. What are we doing today? And so we begin to have a conversation as they're looking over my chart. This is insane. It's insane. I said this before many, many times. If you've been following me, then you know that you've heard me say this. There are many folks who are from other countries that get on a plane, fly to those countries, and go see their doctors there because they feel that the care is vastly different from what's happening here. I'm not sure what's going on with the healthcare system, but it's pretty damn bad. It's pretty damn bad. And we've got to figure out a way to navigate through it because the care is not care. You saw what I had to do with my mother. I had to fight. The doctor said to us in a conversation, well, after all, she's elderly now. So, it is what it is. I thought I was going to leap across they had a hard time with us, and I'm still not finished with them, but that's another story for another day. Crazy as hell. Let me see what's happening here. I don't want to cover the news today. We covered a lot of it yesterday, so I'm going to do a morning motivation. Okay, and this actually is good because it ties into something else that I want to talk about. I have a mind-blowing story to share, and I'm still navigating it in my head how best to do so. In the meantime, let me say this. When life can twist and turn like a corkscrew in our souls, and it seems the only option that is left is to throw in the towel and acquiesce to the messages of failure by giving up on your goals and dreams. Let me be clear. If you are breathing, there is hope, joy, and success at the intersection of deep despair. Even when it takes much longer than you anticipated, continue to show up and find gratitude in the smallest wins. So the story that I have to share with you is a young lady. I was moderating a conference, a 2-day conference, and after the first day, we went down to the restaurant to sit and have a meal, to kind of debrief and decompress. And one of the attendees at the conference comes over, and she said to me, I'm just drawn. I don't even know if you want to hear my story. I'm just drawn to the things that you said today. And I said, sure. We were eating dinner. I know my people were looking at me like, what the hell? She just bogarted. But I have a kindness chip in me that says when someone takes the time to come, you just want to have the dialogue, right? So she sits down and she tells me her name, and then tells me that she was homeless from the time she was 7 until she went to college. Her mother wasn't doing well mentally, and so they were bouncing from place to place. They were sleeping on park benches. She said, I remember people just walking by us. We were just not seen because we were experiencing. She said, I was going to school every day. We were finding places to go wash up like a Wawa, where to go brush our teeth. Her mother didn't want them in shelters because the shelters, she said, were dangerous. Every time they went in there, somebody tried to attack them or to rape them. So the mother kept her out on the streets. And so when she became an adult and graduated from college and she found her first little apartment, she said she made up in her mind that she was just not going to be invisible, which is why she walked over, knowing that after I had dinner, I probably wasn't going to be there until the next day. And when the next day came, I was going to be busy working the conference, right? So she starts to share this story with me, and I'm sitting there going, how many of us can imagine being homeless for most of your childhood, from 7 to the time you go off to college? What did it take? What kind of fortitude did it take for her and her mother, especially her, to continue to go to school, continue to do what she needed to do so that she could see the light at the end of the tunnel? What did it take? As a direct result, in her work now, she calls things as she sees them. She doesn't play the game. She's not performative in any way, shape, or form. And because we are a performative society and a performative group of people, they were offended and affronted by what she called and she saw. She saw cheating. She saw, writing things that wasn't so. She saw all of that. And when she questioned it, she was told she was no longer a fit and made to leave the organization that she was in. And so I had a conversation with her and I said, start your own thing. You are not meant to fit into any place of employment. Just do your own thing. It's going to be difficult, but you've lived difficult. You understand what difficult looks like. And the people that make it in this world that goes from just having a job or working for someone else are the ones who take the time, are the ones who work so super hard. They look up and they're millionaires and billionaires. They do. It's the people that struggle the most in society, that have been left for dead, who have been told that they can never amount to anything. Not the ones that had mommy and daddy, because there's a level of comfort that comes with having your parents, taking care of you, or your grandparents or whoever it is, and not knowing what the struggle feels like. And so many of our young people today have no idea because they've been accustomed to, I want this, so they get this. Oh, we're going over here on vacation and we're doing this and we're doing that. You're living the life and there's nothing wrong with it. But I have always said to each and every one of you, allow your children to struggle. Allow them to face hard time. Allow them to, you'll be right there on the wings, right? And you help them peripherally, but you have to allow them to face hard times because we're not going to live forever. We can't. We absolutely cannot. And so it's very difficult. So I've shared this story now because last night I got another call. I'm telling you, if y'all could just, dear friend of mine, and I'm not naming names and I'm not going into details that you can figure out who it is. Her child is living out on the streets, is the same age as my son. My oldest son grew up with my oldest son. We just went to school, did all the things. And right around 2021, she went to college and then something snapped inside of her, and her mother has tried everything. Now you're talking about a family that has all the resources, would do anything. Mama did everything to make sure. She said she thought she saw something in the baby when she was little, but she kept asking, "What's the family history?" Da 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 da. Her grown daughter now is out in the streets, living in the streets. She's tried everything to help this young lady, tried to bring her back with her, tried to make sure that she was okay. She wants no parts of it. Well, one of my friends saw her twice, not far from where I live. And so I reached out to mom and I said, I really would like to go and see how I can be helpful. I know that I'm not dealing with the person that I've always known as a child. And so mom says, you can try. She said, but I've tried and my father has tried. She will not accept money from us. I said, but you're family, right? She will not accept money from them. And it breaks mom's heart. Mom is just broken from this child that she's raised. Mental health is something that this is why I keep telling y'all, be kind. In a world where you can be anything, be kind, damn it. Be kind. You make assumptions about what you don't know or what you think you know. And in your quest to be seen as a part of society, you end up being cruel. You end up being cruel, and their family members who are in the shadows watching all of this, watching how you behave, and say, well, I can't share with them then that I'm having this issue with my son or my daughter or my niece or my nephew. We have to be mindful about the way we show up and navigate in society. Damn it, be kind. Be kind. This is one of my dearest friends. And we only met because we became neighbors, but I'm telling you. So now I have to guard up my loins, go and see what they told me exactly where I could try and find her. It was one of my son's actually my son's god sister that saw her twice. She allowed them to feed her at one point. So I'm going to go see what can be done, what services are there, because mom is it's a lot. It's a lot. So the next time you're walking down the street and you see someone laying on a park bench or laying on the floor or laying on a grate, instead of walking as if you don't see them, instead of pretending like they don't exist, just know this could be your story. Just know. Show kindness. Give a cup of tea, give a sandwich, give $5. Whatever it is that you can do. Whatever it is that you can do. And many of those folks just have never had anyone, show them any kind of love. I've also told this story about going past the DA's office into the Wanamaker building, and I was walking through the parking garage, and as I was getting near the city hall, man stopped me. He said, "Ma'am, I just wanted to tell you for brightening up my day. You just walked by me. I felt your energy, and I just want to thank you." And I could tell he was homeless, and so I said, and I know I should say experiencing homelessness, but y'all keep putting these monikers and different things. He was homeless, right? And so I said, "Can I offer you some money?" And he said, "No." He said, "I just wanted to tell you how you impacted me." And I hauled off and hugged the man. I hugged him. He burst into tears. He said it's been 20 years since anybody touched him. Now I'm going to an event. I'm dressed to the nines, but my spirit said. And so I followed my spirit. Now, how many of you I'm not asking you to hug homeless people. That's not what I'm asking you to do. I'm just asking you to show a modicum of kindness. I'm asking you to see them. See them. Stop acting like you've so arrived, because any one of us, that conversation I had earlier about the healthcare, we are one bad big one illness away from going bankrupt. Because whether you have insurance or not, those co-pays, those fees, those costs are horrendous. It's horrendous. So stop judging. If you can't be empathetic, take your little judgmental behind and go somewhere else. But stop judging people because you don't know. And mental health is running rampant through these families, through our families. Speak up. This is... And so then the parents and the families have to, walk in shame. They see something is different about the child, but they don't want to say anything because they're afraid their child is going to be judged. Cut it the hell out, please. Please, because what we're seeing now that is not being shown on the news is that homeless people are disappearing off the streets. They've been put on buses and then you never find them again. These are your family members. They didn't just come out of a stork somewhere. They belong to somebody. So see them. See them. All right, let me let Cherie Syfax in. Lord, every morning I just go on this tangent. Morning, honey bunny.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm well. How are you?
You know, it's another one, another day in paradise. I don't even know what we're talking about today, Cherie, because it's so much. Maybe we can talk about families, being in a relationship with someone who has a relative or a son or a daughter or a niece or a nephew that is experiencing mental health challenges beyond the pale. And what does that look like and feel like? And we can also talk about being in a relationship with someone who has had to struggle their entire lives and had to fight to get out of that struggle to get to where they are today. But we judge so much. We judge so much. I don't know. I don't know what the I just don't know what the yes, I do, damn it, I do. We need to be more empathetic. We need to show more kindness, and we need to speak up more for each other.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because behind the degrees and all the wonderful things that we've been able to attain, there are core values that we carry that sometimes sucks. We're not empathetic. We're not kind. We don't have courage. It's all about us, what we want, what we want. And we're watching people suffer and struggle around us. And we don't do anything to help. We have judgment about, oh my God, I can't believe they dress like that. Oh my God, I can't believe we spend so much time judging. Am I making sense?
You are. Good morning, everyone. Hello, everybody. It's Cherie. You are, but I would think for me, so a couple things. I think for me, there's a lot of judgment the other way. Um, and when I say that, I just mean that just because you have degrees or whatever, like it just seems like there's judgment on that group of people too. And
No, yeah, there is that too. That's happening. That is absolutely happening. But I let's be clear. There are a lot of people that are hinged on, well, I have this degree and I have that degree, and you push people away just based on that. You understand what I'm saying? There's no empathy there. I'm talking about people who live cloaked in the I am this and I am that and I am, and then we have no empathy for the people around us. That's not cool.
yeah, but I don't know that. See, I know a lot of people with degrees, and I know that that's out there, absolutely and for sure. I don't know that most of the people that I know that have degrees also are on boards of underserved people that serve underserved people that that contribute dollars, time, themselves to marginalized groups. So I just don't know that I feel that. And I'm starting to feel sometimes that there's this us against them. And it's not even that the us maybe who have the degrees is the group that needs to have all of the empathy, because I think that there's also groups of people that don't have degrees that then are judgmental of those that do.
Agreed. Agreed.
And I feel that sometimes that's kind of why we're in this current situation that we're in, because of this critique, if you will, of what people are defining as elitism, when just having a degree does not make you elite, and it's not elite, but it's like, if I have education, then I'm the wrong person or the bad person. I've seen that
And that is wrong. That
I've
is
seen
wrong
that
too.
villainization. I've seen that become something out there too. And so, you know, I don't feel like the people that have the degrees are always right, but I also don't feel like the people that don't and that are in situations of necessity aren't either. And I think that there has to be a better way that we have conversations that don't title people a certain way or put people in certain camps, so that there can be some integration of how do we just all collectively work together.
Okay.
If you're talking about kind of moving community and and things like that.
So the degreed people were just an example, but I'm talking about people in general who are
Just
not
have
empathetic. The core values are absolutely missing from there. We And I'm talking about us as African Americans. So white people, close your ears if you're listening, or don't, totally up to you. But we as African Americans were taught and conditioned to understand that in order for us to make a wrong in society, I can't tell you how many times I've stood up in churches and the pastors in the pulpit saying, we don't want you to go to this college. We need to go to the elite colleges. And I'm not making this shit up. Excuse my language. We need to go to the elite colleges because after all, it is how society will see us. We have come a long way because these white folks didn't want us here and that. And so we have made it and we have arrived. We've been conditioned to believe that we have made it and we are here and there's no turning back. And we're watching in real life time all the turning back that is happening because we've been conditioned to separate ourselves, the wheat from the tares. I've made it over here. I'm going to be a part of this and I'm going to be a part of it. And it's a conversation, damn it, we have to have because so many right now, at least 3-4 times a day, I'm getting a call or a text message about someone who has made 6 figures, 7 figures, who are now in the bottom of the ground because they've lost their business, they've lost their jobs, and we're all trying to figure out how to be empathetic. What I am saying is, as a society as a whole,
but I think,
damn it, we got to be better.
Right. To me, that's across the board. I don't think it requires for the people that have made it to be more empathetic than those who haven't. I think we all have to have a certain amount of empathy towards each other. I say it because I've seen online somebody say they can't wait for the fall of my restaurant. Literally online, a person underagreed. So like, to me, there's group factions within us that are not wanting other factions within us to have success, and not lack of success looks better for them. So to me, I don't buy into one group is the group over here is the group that's pushing this narrative. I think sometimes people aren't happy with where they're at, and then they're upset with the fact that somebody else worked really hard to get where they got. Me nor Tracy hail from that group that you're speaking of, and we've just worked really, really hard. One of us with a degree, one of us without a degree, both of us very committed to the things that we do. Yes, we have success, absolutely, but we also spend a lot of our time, money, efforts, all that stuff, whether it's on boards, whether it's working with people. People don't call us and ask us if we need anything, but people call us and ask us for things.
It happens all the time.
Right, exactly. So I guess that's why I'm saying I don't quite completely buy into which group of people need to have the empathy. I think we all need
but
to.
But that's what I said, Cherie. I said whether you agree or not.
But you're categorizing it as the narrative is like, way I heard it is the people with a certain level of success, and those people need to have a different level of empathy. When my experience,
but that's not what I'm saying though. So
that's
let
what I
me.
heard. Okay. So that's what I heard.
So that's not. Thank you for telling me what you hear.
And you said you've been to churches, and they said go to these elite schools.
Yes, so, because that sets us up as people to one side from the other, which is why the people who are not degreed are saying things like, I can't believe, I hate them. It pits us against each other, which is not necessary. And as a community, we have to pull together and figure out how we work together. That's what I was saying.
So then the messaging is that it's not about the people with degrees need to do something different. It's about the collective.
Okay. All right. So
of empathy. And I only use that example. I know I'm covered and words cannot hurt us. I only use that example as it's like, why would someone want that? We are this entity that hires people, all these things. So why would someone want that? We haven't done anything to anyone, or the establishment hasn't, because I don't even think it was us. It was for our time. I think it was just the length of time that the business has been there. The previous person hired people and did, you know what I mean? So it's like, why do we want to utter things that would bring down success of our community in general? Period. No matter which side of education or academia or how many figures are in your bank account. And so, because I saw the opposite during the election. I'm just saying, I want us to be
I hear you.
mindful of language that does pit us against each other.
Yeah, but yeah, that has to happen. And we have to come together as a community to figure out how we navigate. I feel when we have this conversation, it's triggering on either, like Viola says, I truly understand both of you. It doesn't require much for us to show empathy with each other. We get that there are people out here that are going to try and destroy others who are working hard. Happens all the time. I was
Right.
publicly my name was thrown all around the world for people trying to destroy. So this is not something that I don't understand. What
Right.
I am saying is we are in such deep shit as a community right now. If we don't pull together and start to figure out how we help one, and whatever that looks like, it
Right.
has to happen.
Correct.
So
Without defining who the responsibility is. So again, if it's a general statement, I absolutely agree. I don't think me with my degree makes me any more responsible than Tracy without his degree. That's all I'm saying. You said degree
but
specific. So
yeah,
I'm no,
but I gave that as an
listen to it.
example, and
You
but you're
said
stuck there on the degrees. It's more
because
about us as
you were
people.
stuck there.
I
you
wasn't stuck there. You heard
you
me
stuck
say I wasn't. Go back
okay.
and watch it. I wasn't. I clarified what I was talking about. And so it
Okay.
wasn't about being stuck on the degrees. It was an example. And I said the reason why the folks are over on the other side fussing and complaining is because we in our community ourselves apart. And so it's a
Right.
problem on either end. It
I agree.
really, truly is. But right now, with what's going on in the country, should we, if we don't have the hard conversations, and we have to have them. Because see, right now, you got folks trying to rip your restaurant apart because of what? Jealousy. Because they don't understand what you had to do to get to where you had to get to. They just don't get it. Right?
Agreed. Right. So I absolutely agree. So I think that's why the conversation is just a broader conversation outside of what your socioeconomic status is, outside of what your background is, and all those things. I just think it's a different conversation, and I may feel differently about it than other people feel. I mean, I've had conversations online with people. Even Joel Wilson and I kind of had an exchange about. There's this whole conversation around Martha's Vineyard and elitism, and we talked about
We're
it a
still
couple
talking
of
about
ago.
that. I mean,
No,
seriously.
no, I'm just giving an example. I'm just giving an example. And I'm just saying, it's like, okay, well, no one cannot not come there. And so why does it become this thing of people needing to talk negatively of it, get a ticket to get on the ferry and go across to Martha's Vineyard? It's like, it's very, very easy, and it doesn't have to be
But the truth
and
is,
it doesn't.
though, a lot of people can't afford that, Cherie.
But the thing about it is that there's no conversation when people talk about they go down in droves to Jamaica. Like, everybody can't afford to go to Jamaica either. The same
That's true
that
too.
can't afford but there's no national dialogue amongst the black interwebs about people and judging people about going to Jamaica, because it's what's perceived as what is attainable and what's perceived as what's not attainable. It's all attainable. It's just a desire. It's just what you choose to do.
So then the sickness is within us, because there are people that I know that have lived in their 4-block radius that have never left their 4-block radius.
I agree.
Right? There's a
I
lot of that happening. And
Correct.
so the fact that, this makes me.
And I guess the question for me is, how do you bring everyone along? How do you bring everyone along? Whose responsibility is it to bring everyone along?
It's all of our responsibility collectively. Right. So it may in your world, it might look different. Joining a board to do XYZ. In my world, it may look different. In Viola's world, she goes and go find the unhoused couple. It's all of our collective responsibility, but it looks different in each people.
For different,
right.
Agree.
Right.
Absolutely.
Somebody, Winetta, I agree. Winetta said, I have noticed more that people are driving around with their belongings in their cars, happening more and more. Homelessness is on the rise more than we realize, and people are just not on the streets. They're living out of their cars too. Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I used to walk Kelly Drive a lot. And when you start walking up into not Kelly Drive, the park, kind of off of Kelly Drive, and kind of going into the park, I started noticing, I mean, I'm so used to homelessness because it's rampant in the Bay Area, like just rampant, like we have encampments. So what we have here pales in comparison to that. And initially I was kind of numb to that. And then I started looking and I was like, wow, there's just a lot of people in their cars, and I don't know what their status is. They can get up and go to work,
Yes.
but they don't have the means to secure, they don't have the means to secure um,
Housing.
housing stability. But let me say this, and this is as someone who, and I don't know every single situation with all of my tenants, but there needs to be more conversation around financial management. There needs to be more conversation around home ownership. There needs to be more conversation around skills, like, working on skills and in industries that with different pay wages. To me, I feel like that's where some of our collective conversation doesn't happen, because I have tenants who pay below what I would consider below market rent, and they still struggle to pay it. And at what point is it like your rent's $900 for a 2-bedroom house? That to me doesn't seem like a lot. And maybe it is. And maybe I'm being
And that's
insensitive.
really pretty damn good if
I
if you're working a job
I
that can afford
even,
it, a 2-bedroom
but
house.
but even that, people are like, I can't pay my rent to the end of the month, I'm gonna give you half, and all this other stuff. So I feel sometimes that we need to have more conversations around financial management. How, when people have to go to eviction court, then someone should be able to say, okay, we need to manage your money. So we need to, you need to, like, have the court be conservator over your money, and they need to help you pay your bills. And because, or if you're paying, we have people paying $1,600 for a 2-bedroom. If you're paying that much, at least, in parts of Philadelphia, parts of New Jersey, you may be able to buy a house. How do we get you on a program to start saving so that you can buy a house? Because now you're on the tax roll. Now you take care of your house differently. And if you are underemployed, how do we get you into some skills training? Do you need to learn how to be a plumber? Do you need to learn how to be, because those to me are the things, the conversations that we're not having. Some of it is out of pure, it's just expensive to live, but some of it is out of people not managing their money properly and things like that. I mean, we rent rooms like $700. Everything is paid for. You just pay your, like, if you can't pay that, where are we at? Because how far down can we go to in the year 2025 with insurance and tax? Like, how far down can we go? I know there are slumlords out there. I know but there are a lot of good landlords. So how do we commune together to talk about how we make sure that we're providing good and healthy housing? We're providing it at a rate that's market, where you can get there and afford it, and we can also afford our mortgages, our taxes, our insurance, all the things that come with owning a home and providing good households for people. I just think that there's not enough. To your point, there's too much pitting, and there's just not enough conversation. I'll see these inflammatory posts from political people, councilmen, if you feel like your rent is being gouged, you shouldn't even talk about that. Let's talk about, how do we work together as homeowners and renters? And sometimes it's not even that the homeowners are the elites. It's just, I had this house, I bought another house, so now I can rent this house out. I'm not saying me, but that's how I started. Like, I had a house, and then I went and did another house. And so I rented that house out. I'm not some conglomerate. I need a certain amount of money for this to work, for me to pay all the stuff that I need to pay related to your housekeeping, and then for me to do the things that I do. And that's how I started. When I came to Philly, I house hacked. I bought a house where I lived in one, and I rented out the other ones. So how do we have, to your point, less divisive conversations about, because they are my landlord, they must be this elite people? No, we're just hardworking people like you are. Really, we are. And we maybe either manage our money a little bit differently or what have you. And how can we help you manage your money? Because I know if two people live in an apartment, you shouldn't only be able to pay me half rent on something that's already moderately priced. Yeah. There's something wrong with how you're spending your money in that scenario. Not in every scenario, but there's something wrong with how you're spending your money in that scenario. And I feel that we don't have enough of those conversations. I feel that there's so much attention on the homeowners or the degreed people or the business owners. And there's no conversation about how much it costs to even be the homeowner, the business owner, or any of those things. So I think if there's communication where we're educating people on things, that I think you go a lot further with, to your point, building that chasm or that to integrate. When we started helping when some of our people came up to management, and then they see like we spend money, like they think, oh, if something costs $20, we get $20. No, if something costs $20, we may net 2 or 4. After we pay, you pay for that, and now like it's shifted their whole mindset around like, oh, people really think if you sell something for $20, you get the full
bringing
$20.
that $20 in, yeah.
So to me, there's just not enough financial education. There's not enough understanding of business and how business works. There's just not enough of those conversations. So then you build these silos, and that's just kind of pertaining to like housing and employees and people out there that feel like businesses should do all these things. And usually, in my experience, well, and it's narrow, but my experience is that those that have become and been able to acquire and amass and have businesses and things like that, they also tend to give back to the community. They really do. That is what the experience I've had. So, I just think that it's not a us against them. It's how can we have a collaborative and a collective conversation?
Okay. All right. So there's a lot of dialogue here. Laura says everyone feels entitled to have phones, expensive cars, and amenities, etc. Right now, we must scale back to be able to make it today. There are people, again, it comes back to the way we've been conditioned. It literally comes back to the way we've been conditioned, and there's so many people who have not learned any of these things. Monica says, I'm in property management and I see it every day. Financial literacy is a big issue. Many are living above their means and have never had a budget or even written down their bills. I help. So there has to be something. There are plenty of places out here that offers these things.
Right.
Plenty of places. It is the feeling of shame, the feeling of inadequacy. So how can we help folks?
Or the feeling of normalcy, like this is normal. It may not even be shame and inadequacy. It may be like, this is normal for me to tell my landlord because my mom did that. Yeah. Or that's what I've seen, or that's what happens in the community, or just whatever. That's one thing I will say, being a landlord in Trenton specifically versus Philadelphia. It's a small city. They don't play. They know Tracy. They know he's a good landlord. One of the judges was the judge when Tracy was going to jail, and so sees him now and knows Mr. Syfax is an upstanding citizen. They will evict you, period. Philly takes a little longer. They have diversion programs. It's a bigger system, so it's a little bit different. But here, they don't play that. And it's 200 people looking for that apartment. So because of that, there's a little bit of ways that but I always Tracy and I literally just had that conversation. We had 2 people that like can't pay their rent, and it's not high rent. And one of them has 2 people in the household. And it's like, we need to do workshops to help these people understand, like, this is like, when you don't pay, like we cannot afford to keep you in here because these taxes are this insurance is this, it all needs to be paid. It all works together. Yes, do we profit some? We should. Why shouldn't we? But it's not we're not going off to, retire on what you pay in rent. And there's this perception of that. And that's what causes they don't deserve it, or those things.
Yeah. So from a business owner standpoint, I hear what you are saying. From a mental health standpoint, where people are really struggling mentally, that's a whole different conversation. There's so many facets to this conversation. But since we're on the business aspect of it, I have, friends who are business owners, or folks who, work with entrepreneurs who say, well, they're bringing in X amount of money. Surely they can afford to pay more, not recognizing that there are things that need to be done. So one particular business owner is right now dealing with her staff, like, you own this place and we should make more money. And to your point, nobody's paying the overhead for the place. Nobody's paying for the products. Nobody's paying for all the things that come along with it. All they see is how much money is coming in. But again, that comes from not having a space to learn. So I went in, and broke it all down. I was like, if this is a problem for you, go start your own business and then see. Of course,
We
ain't
tell
nobody
people that
want
all
to start
the
their
time.
own business. They just want
We
to
tell people
grumble in the
that all the
corner.
time. We
Go start
invite
your own
people to
business.
our business.
Please do. Do the overhead, pay the taxes, do all the things that you know needs to be done in order for you to operate as a business. And everybody stop talking, but then they grumble amongst themselves. They don't know what they're talking about. But you choose to stay here. If you choose to stay here, then you do what we tell you to do. It's just that simple. So we've got, oh my God, Lord. David said, Sherry, Philadelphia City Council needs to hear this. And Laura says it's good to hear from a landlord's point of view. Like the struggle is normal. Somebody wrote, oh Jesus, there's so much going on. Laverne says, so while I have cut spending, I need to make more, and childcare is changing. Enrollment is low. My other streams of income is pocket money. And she says, definitely not managing money. Well, God, y'all are talking. This turned into a thing, right? She says, my thing went down 50%. My salary went down 50%, but my bills didn't go down 50%, so I've had to adjust. And but that's folks who have been in it for as long as they can remember. Who is teaching? How do we get folks to a place where they can say, all right, I'm making this amount of money. That means this is what I can afford for rent. See what I'm saying?
Right. Uh-huh.
And so for many folks who are working and living above their means, what is happening is instead of paying the rent, they pay the car payment, which is like $300-400 a month. I hear them, it's fine. $300-400 a month. So they can live in the car, right? Because that's $300-400 a month, and pay the insurance. And then at some point, even that doesn't work because I don't know. Something has to shift and change. There is a season upon us where if you can't figure this out, you're going to die.
But
I don't know another way to say this.
You know, what we fight against, I can't remember what I was watching, but what we fight against is a little bit of the social media era of look at me, look at me, look at me, look at all the stuff I've got, look at all the stuff I've got. And people, that has become part of our DNA.
Yeah.
The other part of it, and I say this with all respect to, is this not understanding how hard the work that goes into a lot of different things. People see the end product, but they don't realize like all these things, even, I look at 55 and Tracy just turned 63 and kind of where we're at. I look at so many different moves that if I hadn't have made them, and those were a long time ago moves, if I hadn't have made them, I would not have been able to do, some of the things that we do now. And it was just a choice of like, I chose, and still to this day, my girlfriends, they can afford it. They shop and they do. I'm not spending $10,000 on something. I'm just not. I'll go and look at it pre-owned, all those things. And there was just a shift that I said, I'm not going to shop because I want to buy a house. And I just thought that at late 20s, and I said I was going to buy my first house by 30. The housing market was very, very different. So now I have all these things that I can leverage, but it wasn't I'm this person. It was just, I consciously made a decision to say that. And so sometimes I don't think, people are even thinking about how they can curtail their lifestyles to make sure that they pay their rent, to make sure that they said, we were literally, Tracy, we're getting ready to look into building some stuff. And I was like, we need to work with programs so that as we build, we get prospects who are looking to be first-time homeowners. Because we've turned some of our tenants into homeowners. So that's why maybe I get triggered by people trying to talk about who's not doing what. I know what we're doing. And people in our community are doing to help people. People also have to want help. They also have to, so it's not us against them. It's how do we collectively do this? And I know that we do that. But we were just saying, we need to partner with community organizations that have first-time home buyer programs to start putting people in the pipeline for these places that will be available in the next year and a half, because they need to start saving and get qualified, because that's a whole nother thing. You have to have a certain amount of savings. And people don't know that. They talk about home ownership, but what does it take? So how do you put a developer or a builder in touch with an organization that has people that want to be first-time home buyers, and you kind of start matching them? Okay, to get this house, You have to have this much saved. You have to have this credit score so that by the time that house is built,
and you have to earn a certain amount of money.
you have to earn a certain amount of money, right? So by the time that house is built, you're matching people up properly, and you can move people right into a first-time home ownership, situation. We change people until we stop becoming consumer. We're gonna always be mad as long as we consumers. Period. And like, we don't want to have that conversation. That's the conversation we don't want to have. We're going to always be mad and bitter as long as we are consumers, because consumers are at the bottom of the barrel.
Absolutely.
It's owners, it's all those people, and we stay in the consumer space.
So how do we get us out of the consumer space?
Because I just gave an example of ways that we're trying to think about how do we get at least people into home ownership, at least that. But how do you do that on a scale that's extrapolated out? I don't know.
There are many, many examples of people who just stop spending so that they could do what they're supposed to do. Hold on, because there's a lot of comments here again. Oh God. Oh my God. Laverne says businesses going into debt trying to cover payroll alone while the other expenses go into limbo. I don't have staff. David says sometimes you can't teach people who want to peacock. But again, it comes back to the way we've been posturing and taught to posture. And so knowing that we can't afford the $14,000 like there's so much. What I'm trying to say is we need to unlearn and relearn. Mm-hmm. If we're going to survive what is upon us in this country. Let's see. Laura says, my mom did an exercise with me when I was a teen that shifted my perception about money, and I never got it. She showed me the bills and how much was left after we were paid. Woke me up. Absolutely. Let me see. Laverne says, I agree, Cherie, a new era of keeping up with the Joneses. But it's been going on, and you see it all the time on social media. Laverne says, yep, I did the same. I stopped spending and purchased a home making $10.50 an hour. I don't even want to buy a home right now in 2025 with the prices right, because folks are looking at mortgages of $4,000 a month, right? It is a thing. If you want a halfway decent house that can hold you and your family, those mortgages are not cheap, and you have to make a certain amount of money.
And that, back to baseline of the love that is where you have to figure out who you marry. Because that is like horrible. Hey, my marriage, I was stable, but being married was a game changer in certain ways, even down to now I have someone who can help me fix my properties because I have somebody that can do that. I didn't have someone before, so I would be nervous about buying certain types of properties. I could have bought all kinds of fixer-uppers in Philly before the prices went up but I was nervous because I was like, I don't really know any contractors. I'm new here. I don't know that. So now I have that person. So now I can think very, very differently. So it's so important who you partner with. Because and this is where my judgment is, and so I will be transparent and I will admit this, because I'm like, the rent is just $1,200 and it's you and a man in there, like I'm like, my goodness, and you got to call us and tell us why you can only pay half of it.
But did you not hear us talk last week about women who are with men who are paying no bills at all? And I just want to know what they're slinging that you pay no bills, and I'm struggling by myself.
Or the person's not working. Like, I don't know what it is, but I just want us to be stronger together. You know what I mean? So again, back to sometimes that is my judgment, and it's like, my goodness, like, wow, we can, like, how do we do better? As a team.
Monica says, Cherie, I want to know where you have a 2-bedroom house for $900. When is it unoccupied? I have someone to place there that can qualify and is totally dependable. Please let me know. So if you kick somebody out of the $900,
I will know that.
Yes. Laverne says saving. It's that credit that has some people stuck because they have all these unpaid debts that's just sitting there on them. That's a good point.
You don't get to be an adult until one day you wake up and you're like, oh, my credit is bad. Yeah. No, definitely.
And I think all those credit cards. Yesterday, I got a thing from a credit card company says, we noticed that you've been doing really, really well, and blah, 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 blah. We'd like to increase. Toop, toop, toop. And every credit card bill, I may spend $100 or $200. I'm just so that it stays active.
Yeah, I have one.
I can't afford
on or whatever.
Yeah.
But I
Yep,
mean,
yep.
but again, back to transparency. As a
Mhm,
business owner, I got other credit cards that have a lot of our business debt, like the way we pay
mhm,
our bills on
mhm,
an Amex Platinum card. So
mhm,
that I always have a lot of debt, and that
mhm,
has impacted us in some stuff that we do because
mhm,
I always had the high credit score. So
mhm,
it's like we sometimes you can't win for losing, and
mhm,
sometimes I just have to be comfortable in just that my core value is similar to what you were talking about. Like at my core, I don't care how much money we perceive to have or whatever. I'm going to still always commit to my community, period.
mhm,
And everyone's not going to like us,
mhm, mhm,
we
mhm,
talk about sometimes it's so funny, like we talk about sometimes we our car and Tracy parks it in front of the restaurant, and I'm like, but what they don't know is we do have a nice car. One, it's pre-owned, but we do have a nice car. But do you know that for when me and Tracy first got together, I had a BMW, I sold it, and all we had was his work trucks that he had that he paid off. Like we drove his work trucks until we ended up, then when we got into the when we, and these are trucks from 2008, like old work trucks. That's what we drove, and his vintage Mercedes. And when we got into getting ready to buy the restaurant, then we could, because we needed a car, but we couldn't buy a car because we were buying the restaurant. So for those 12, 14 months, we still just drove these old work trucks with
mhm,
Fax Group on the, Fax Group construction on like
mhm,
so that's not the conversation. The conversation is, oh, the Syfaxes have a Porsche, so they must be rich. It's not. For this many years, we drove work trucks that have no car payment because we try not to be overly consumers. And when we did go to buy a car, we bought a pre-owned car.
mhm.
So I just recognize every everybody not gonna love us. But
And it's not going to
we just
happen. And it's a
we just have to
yeah.
keep pouring into the community in ways
Mhm,
that feel good to our soul, that we can look at
mhm,
ourselves in the mirror and know that we're doing what we need to do.
mhm. I don't in my group. I don't know anybody that buys brand new cars. We all own pre-owned cars, child, because it just don't make no damn sense
It
otherwise,
doesn't. It doesn't.
right?
It
Um,
absolutely doesn't. And that's what I'm
when
telling
when you said that, I remember my husband saying to me, my oldest son, his wife lost her job right after Repeat was born. Today's Repeat's birthday, and he had waited years to buy this Porsche, 2004. It's clean as a whistle, beautiful. After his wife lost her job, he sold that Porsche. He got
you.
rid of it. He said, "I am 33 years old. I have to make sure that I keep a roof over my head. This is when I know as a parent that I'm okay."
Mm-hmm.
I have to keep a roof over my head. He got rid of anything that would be an albatross as a bill around his neck. And they had the van with the children. And he drives his little van with his children. And he's happily driving the van with the children
Yeah.
because they have a roof over their head and do what they're supposed to do. He recognizes that at some point later on in life, if it's something he wants to do and can afford to do it,
Go
that he
get it.
will do. But
Yeah.
again, that comes from learning, right? That comes from being taught. That comes
Mm-hmm.
from there are folks who live in beautiful houses, but they say, I just want a bigger house. I want to be more like that. Da, da, da. Your expenses cannot be overloaded by the thing that you're buying. You have to be responsible about the way that you're doing this. And so
And
I'm
there's
not
people that can't even pay their rent that have cell phones and iPads and all that. So like
baby.
it's not just the people that have the things. It's all of us
Yeah.
at all stages. That is
Which comes back to my saying we need to work in a class. We have work to do because there's so much going on. By God, the conversation here. Annette says change is very scary for some people. It's easier for some to struggle because it's familiar and comfortable for some. Viola
mm,
says, I have 5 adult children with 5 different lifestyles and stories of life. No one ain't helping nobody, Lord. Laura says, yes, Cherie, excellent point. The borrower will be slave to the lender. So that's right. You just because your credit score is wonderful and they tell you you can afford the house, you got to look at your income coming in and say, after we pay the mortgage and we have to pay because a bigger house, bigger this, right? After we pay the mortgage and do all the things, are we going to be able to live comfortably or are we going to be a slave to the house that we're living in?
yeah.
Very important. Very, very
Like
important.
people who have money
Um,
worrying about public
yeah.
perception.
Yeah,
Absolutely right.
yeah. Hold on, wait a minute. Laverne Oh my God, Lord Jesus. Viola said, I helped my mom figure out bills when I was young. We didn't get that growing up as children. We weren't, but we had to learn. We had to learn, right? And so
So,
I've
it's
always,
so interesting because neither of my parents were good with
yeah,
money. But my grandparents were. And I remember my grandfather used to sit and just, sometimes I think back because people are like, how did you end up being so? And I'm not perfect with money, but I am more dialed into it than you would think, considering neither of my parents were necessarily good with money. But my grandfather, when he sat down to pay the bills, I used to sit down and he used to write the check out. And he used to kind of just explain, this is the bill for this and this is the bill for that. And I don't think that he was a teacher. And so I think teachers teach. And I think just that exercise when I was younger just at least cued me into there's this concept of money and then checks and then the check. I was able to get that concept and have always managed a checking account properly and excellently and all those things. And so I think sometimes we overlook how important just the small conversations around money are. And I think in our communities, a lot of times it's almost taboo to speak and talk about money. And we absolutely should talk about it, because in other cultures and in other households, they're talking about
all
insurance.
the time.
They're talking about the stock market. They're talking about this business deal, this business transaction that so-and-so did. They're talking about a lot of that stuff. And so, that is one thing that with with our grands, we talk about like business and understanding that this is our business and things like that. And so, yeah, wherever we are ready to start, I'm raising my hand to be a participant in that education, but it has to happen for us to
I've
move the way
seen
we need to
quite a
move.
few, organizations that are trying to teach, financial health, all the things. And what I have heard is, I feel stupid. I don't, well, so then what do we do? How do we cross that barrier? How do we cross that river divide? Because it's a lot going on. And it's insane. It's intense and it's insane. So we've got to navigate it. David says people who have money are not worrying about public perceptions. People who don't have money are not worrying about public perceptions either. Some people just don't give a ratatouille, right? Um, there's a
Right.
lot going on out here. So, this was a robust conversation. Thank you for the robust dialogue, right? Because I think we agreed with each other, but we were coming from different angles and we had to meet in the middle around what we were talking about. What we talked about today, people, is just one example of all the things that are infecting and impacting our community. It's a lot. It's
Mhm.
a lot. And so, as we see more and more people living in their cars or on the streets, as we see more and more people selling soap by the roadside and selling things in their houses to make ends meet, there has to be a conversation about downsizing. And to your point, a bunch of women that, all these women lost their jobs, and so many of them thought they would find another job. So they continued to spend the money that they had in their 401ks, whatever, until they got so many months out. The houses are now in foreclosure. Stacey Abrams was talking about this. So many houses are in foreclosure right now. So many, right? So the adjusting, mentally adjusting to our finances is something that we all need to.
I know, because so the funny thing you say about that, and it's true, because person was like, "Let's go get some sushi." I was like, "We got food in the refrigerator." We're always like eating out, but and then he said I was paying a deposit on, and let me say this too, I was paying a deposit on our trip next year. So we take vacations, but we pay, like I pay deposits on them all year long. You know what I mean? So people, you know, when you're responsible with your money, that's kind of how you do it. But anyway, and he said, well, we may not be able to take as many trips next year. I'm like, between points and payment plans,
There you go.
we
Yo,
vacation.
and American Express Platinum got a bunch of points where you can get hotels, you can get flights, you can get, if as
Absolutely.
much as you travel. Yes, yes.
Absolutely. Because there also has to be, as business owners and community people and engage, you got to also unplug and all those things. But brought to mind that we're even becoming now more mindful of like just not spending without kind of regard of it. Now I kind of have a budget. It's just like we can spend this much money and we don't have to be mindful of it, but we're even being like, well, no, I cooked, so you can, so you can get something out of the refrigerator. And so, it's real what's happening. It is absolutely real what's happening. And I just think we need to be thoughtful in what kind of vehicles we put our money in. And when I say vehicles, I mean like insurance, like where we investment clubs.
And the wear and tear on those vehicles, how long they can last for you, so that you know that after you pay them off or whatever you do, those vehicles will carry you for 10, 15 years. I love an old car. So, it is what it is. But people were like, oh my God, your car is like all these years old. Why are you still driving it? It has 240,000 miles on it. I said, you driving it?
We literally drove our truck until it literally, we could not drive it anymore. Like literally. And I had no problems with it. Like, because when I'm home or just running errands, who cares, but it's interesting. So I'm back to my original statement. It's interesting that there's a certain group of people that will judge me because I drive one car. And then some people that judge me because I drive another. Like, you can't serve all masters, nor do I try.
Which is why I come back to we are infected. We need help.
Yeah,
we do.
Yeah. And I'm not, and I'm not going to try to serve all masters. But at the end of the day, I'm also not. I've also had and lived long enough to have enough experience to know that it does not come from one. It's not coming from one direction only either.
Right. Okay. Thank you very much. The good stuff about what you and I discussed this morning was that people are now understanding what you go through, what we go through to get to where we are. And it's still a work in progress every single day. It doesn't just, we just wake up one morning, but because we have been perceived as a people to have X amount of wealth and X amount of dollars, then there is this, they can't come up to us. They can't. I had a teacher say to me, I'm having a white baby boy. I cannot. Black women got to go. That was in 2016. Did you hear what I just said? That was in 2016. I voted the way I voted because we white people need to get our middle class, our lives back. So it is what it is. And so based on what I am noticing and what I have had in my conversations with people around the country, I know that the less we talk about, because social media is dangerous in more ways than 10, the less we talk about these things, the better off we'll be, because they're looking at our perceived wealth and going, oh yeah, no. Nope. So,
and there's a, the wealthy are going to, survive, and the people that are considered in poverty, there's some safety nets, and things like that they could take advantage of. It is the small people and, those kind of in the middle that need to figure out how we commune together to make sure that we make. That's why I'm such a staunch advocate for small Black businesses. That's why I'm a staunch advocate for, finance. I just say we have offered all types of saving programs for our staff, and not only one has taken advantage of it. So,
because they think their money is going down somewhere they can't get hands in.
No, but right. So it's like, that's what, like, sometimes people are where they are because they want to be, and then they want to throw stones at people who just chose to work differently, and that's okay. But that's why my mindset is not around elites or degreed. It's people in general we have to think differently about each other across the board, because I've seen the other side of it, and I have a close relationship with the other side of it, and I know that that's not healthy either, not in any way, shape, or form.
None of it. Oh, Lord have mercy. Renetta says, I'm paying now for next year's R&R time. I'm just not listening. Yeah. A lot of people, that's the way to go for a lot of people, right? The travel agencies are offering, buy now, pay later, kind of stuff. Girl, we went down this rabbit hole. And realized there's so much more to talk about. There's so much more to talk
No,
about.
we need a what's going on segment and a love.
We do. But it all comes back, right? Because they're family members who are just not even speaking to each other or helping each other. It's like Atia says, it's a mindset. It really, truly is. It
Mhm,
really, truly is.
mhm,
Child.
mhm, mhm.
We're going to be all right, though, one way or the other.
I believe that we are. I'm hoping and feeling like maybe we're turning some corners, and um, I'm hoping that we are. If not, Tracy and I'll be on some other continent somewhere.
Hey, listen, I had a conversation at the federal government 2 days ago, and they're trying to find other places to live.
Hmm.
Did you hear what I said?
I'm not surprised. I am not surprised.
And a good majority of people are not going to be able to do what some are able to do. One called me and said, "How can I get dual citizenship somewhere? Because the American passport doesn't seem to be working everywhere." But I feel that that would happen more for white people than it will for black folk. I think black folk can go different places and assimilate as long as we, and again, the mindset, as long as we go into other people's countries and don't tell them what to do, right? Go learn, adapt. Don't go up in there talking about I'm American, that they will put you out of their country. So there's so much to learn and to grow from. It's a lot. Winetta says, "What are your specials? I want to come and celebrate a birthday."
Oh, well, it depends on what day, but and specials just for birthday specifically, or because
No,
we
just
can.
your specials. Yes.
So we do a whole fish. We do a bronzino. We do a sea
Mhm.
bass. That's amazing. Our lamb chops were specials for a long time, but our lamb chops are now going on our actual menu, which people are excited about.
Yeah.
And we'll just do a seasonal, like one season we'll do like chimichurri with mint, and then we'll do a season of watermelon salad, and then we'll do a
Mhm.
season with mash. So the sides will change, but our lamb, we have a really amazing Caesar salad now, and it what did so well as a special is going on the menu. Um, what else are our specials? I mean, we do a seafood capellini that's really, really good. It's a white wine sauce, and it has clams and mussels and lobster and all kinds of stuff. So that's another special. But I mean,
Mhm.
I think our basic menu is pretty vast and it has a lot of different things on it.
Mhm.
And should we had two parties, a party at 25 and a party at 20 last night. We got a party at 75. Like people really are, we've become a place that people know they can bring a lot of people and we
Mhm.
can get them fed
Mhm.
quick, all the things. So if you want to come celebrate, we give the celebrant a complimentary dessert. And so, yeah, we would love to have you.
All
Absolutely.
right. So I guess she's asking like what special days, like you say brunch and for $40 or the what is that,
Oh,
the
so
three course,
our
but
Sunday,
yes.
yeah, our Sunday supper is $45. It's
Mhm.
a three course. You get a shared appetizer, and I think the options are Thai wings and maybe deviled eggs, and then you
Mhm.
choose from five entree items, and then you
Mhm.
get a dessert. So that's forty-five
Mhm.
dollars per person. If you add
Mhm.
wine, it's $55. But
Mhm.
and it's on Sunday when we have live music, so that's
Okay.
always a nice treat for
Yeah.
people.
I think we answered your question, Donette. So Sunday, honey, go on if you want to have a special, a brunch. Is a brunch or just all day?
That Sunday is our Sunday supper dinner.
Okay,
Monday
dinner.
through
Okay.
Friday for brunch. Monday through Friday we have a happy hour brunch that's 10 to 12. So,
Oh.
yep, happy hour brunch from 10 to 12.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, that's it. But yeah, no, we are.
Yeah. So Laura says branzino is the best. I do. The branzino is the fish that I get. Yes. And
Yes.
I was so
Yeah.
happy to see it on the menu because Mama loves her fish. And Laura says, and top notch service. Tell them where they can find Bookers.
5021 Baltimore Avenue in West Philadelphia. And we'd love to have you because our market has been a hit. And so we need people to come
Yeah.
on
Yeah.
in.
She says she'll call for reservations. Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay.
We'd love
All
to have
right.
you. We'd absolutely
Well,
love to have
Cherie, this was one for the record books, child. We went.
you.
but
Don't be
but
mad
this is
about the free girl. No, I'm just sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
and don't be misunderstanding me when I'm talking about what the people are going through, girl. But you see, but it requires that we have differing thoughts. I don't like talking to people that everything I say they agree with and vice versa. I'm not ever going to agree with everything someone says. And so
Right.
it creates a
Individual.
space for us to have the kind of dialogue that is needed without it becoming detrimental. Does that make sense? Right?
Agreed.
And
Yeah.
we don't do enough of that in our community. We just don't. Who does she think she is? Blah, blah, blah. Shut it. We can agree to disagree. we can, it's okay.
Yeah. Yeah. And I don't even know if it's disagree. It's like we can give space for multiple
We can debate, yes.
and
Robust
then have,
conversation.
yep,
Absolutely.
and then
Absolutely. Dennis says, I'm going to make it happen. What are you going to make happen? Then you've been talking about going to Booker's. You better go. Don't let me hear you didn't go. And when you go, make sure I'm on the invite list so I can see for myself.
post it and tag so we know. But and so it's so funny because Tracy runs across people all the time that are like, I got to get to your restaurant. I got to get to your restaurant. Tracy's like, okay, we're there 7 days a week, 10 to 10. Now it's like we've been there 2.5 years. And this is not, but what happens with businesses is sometimes then they close and people are like, I never made it there, right? Because you never made it there. Like if everybody never made it there, the business doesn't thrive, so it's like, come on in.
Tamara says, if you all had agreed, the dialogue wouldn't have been so robust. I love it. Laura says, it wound up being an excellent conversation. Cherie put a good spin on things. And Monica says, this was good, ladies. So look, that's what grown folk do, though. What you're looking at is grown folks with grown behavior, who have lived life and understand that life is cyclical and stuff shifts and goes left and right. I remember saying to someone a couple of years ago, if people don't know your struggle, they will never understand your success. Right?
Agreed.
So we tend to make it beautiful and pretty and dress it up. Oh, I'm over here and I'm over there. But you talked about the driving of the truck, setting your car. We all have had to go through this. I've had my car repossessed once, when business just dropped and I couldn't figure it out. So we talk about these things and we talk about them transparently because we don't want people to walk around going, well, oh my God, she has arrived. Ain't no damn body has arrived. We just made decisions.
That's it. We made decisions. I tell people all the time, people are like, oh, you seem like, people think I know a lot of stuff about stocks. I really don't. In 2014, I was like, oh, Tesla, it's $35. I don't even know. It was my first stock that I ever bought. And I put like $1,000 in it. My kids have finally gone off to college. I finally had the extra couple of dollars. I wish I had done that every single month. I did that, and then Facebook was going, and Facebook, I was like, oh, my kids are all on that. It must be something. I bought another stock randomly, and then they just took off and just grew. And so it's like, oh my goodness. So now that's why I tell people, like, oh, just if you have any money, and it's
a little bit in there,
just put a little bit in there, because that money turned into things that let and so
allowed to do other things.
Yes. And so then I got involved and I watched it and I'm like, oh, okay, this can happen to this and this, and then you buy a house. And I bought the house. I mean, I've always had a house, but we had the house that my kids grew up in. Then I rented that out and I bought another house, and it was just all these little things. But it also came from, and I was just telling Tracy this the other day, I said, I used to work at Wells Fargo Bank in the morning and I was a part-time teller. And then I went to AAA and I dispatched from 3 to 11. My kids, my mom and my dad and my network helped me with my children, and that I had one day off. I had Sundays off, but I worked 2 jobs for a very, 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 very long time. Then when I finally got into AT&T and I got into sales and all this other stuff, and I'm from Oakland, California, so from the Bay Area, so I did well because you had Silicon Valley that was evolving at the time. Now, y'all, if I would have known then what I know now, I'd be rich and I wouldn't be sitting here, because I would have really invested in all y'all. Google, all that stuff. I was selling them all their data pipes going, what are they doing? Why are they doing this? Right. But I had that. And so then I went back to school because I did not have my degree at that time. I went because I had kids so early. I went back to school and I worked and then went to school and then went and got my master's program. Once my kids got a little bit older, I took my kids to school with me. That is what, like my babies, took them to school with me. So, when people want to talk about people with degree, whatever, let's talk about my story. Let's talk about my journey, I mean, and so it is not like one thing fits all, I'll do a nice thing for myself because I've worked really hard to get there and to do that. And I want to help other people get there too. And I try to be an example and give of myself so that people can get there, because a single parent with 2 children in an abusive marriage, all the things. So I sit here today learning all those lessons from that. So there, I don't have an arrogance about myself, but I do know what happens when you work hard. I do know that.
Absolutely.
And I do know that sometimes people don't want to work hard and want things. And I'm not, and so I'm not, I don't buy into that. You gotta give a little to get a little.
Yeah. Well, and on that note, this episode, see, but more people understand now. Now they understand when they see you, they're less apt to judge. And this episode is going to be sitting here. Folks will be able to come back and see it, and we'll go from there. I want to thank you for this episode. I do. This one's special. It has some special meaning to it. Yeah. Even though we are public people, there's just sometimes as public people things that we don't share our journey about the things that we've gone through. And it's never been easy. Somebody said this to me yesterday. Remember when you shared the story about paying your rent and you only had $1 left over to feed your children and your neighbors came? Denise, Tuesday, she said the amount of pivoting, it truly is. You have to keep pivoting. You have to keep growing. You have to keep learning. You have to keep. So this is why when I'm out in the streets, we never walk around like we've arrived. You're not arrived any damn where. Just the grace of God, some hard work, and having people in your path along the way that has helped you to move and get to where you are now. And it behooves us to help other people wherever we can. Now, some folk don't want to help. Some folk feel like they should not get there. Who you think you're talking to? But, the ones who want the help, then we give the help, And at the same time, we're accepting help from others because even though we are where we are, let me speak for you. Even though you are where you are, there's still folks that'll come along and help and do what needs to be done. Same here too. When I thought my whole life was over last year, the amount of people that popped up out of the woodwork. So to my point, the grace and mercy that you show to people every single day, the empathy, the core values that you have make all the difference in the world. Because when the rubber meets the road, and it will, on some level, we don't get everything right. We don't. We're human beings, and sometimes we don't get shit right. Excuse my language again. I've been saying that word a lot, but
girl, it is coming out of the White House now. I just said we are ghetto. Like there used to be a certain amount of decorum.
just gone, right? And so when we don't get it right, don't crucify us. Just understand that we're learning the lessons and we're moving forward. Give us grace the way you give everybody else grace. How about that? That part. Right. So it is absolutely important. And if you feel the urge to gossip, don't. I had to just throw that in there. Just don't.
Agreed.
Don't gossip. It's not good. It's not good. So yeah, yesterday I was sitting in front of somebody who many of you know, and that somebody said to me, I walked into a room the other day and your name was up on the screen. I said, say what? And they were like, yeah, because they see what you do. They see the value of your work and they're trying to figure out how to continue to work with you. You don't know. I feel like I'm in a silo just working. People are paying attention. So your core value has to be right. You're always lifting up other people, For 2.5 years, it's Booker's book. I'm intentional as hell. Booker. Anybody that wants to come on and talk about their business, come on and talk about the business. You help people. You may not be able to put money in their pockets, but you can give them a advertisement, that they don't have to pay for. You understand what I'm saying? There are ways to do this that doesn't cost anything, but the value of how you love on people makes all the difference in the world. I walked out of that meeting in a daze because I didn't know. You just don't know. So at the end of the day, whether you make $2 or $2 million, the core of who you are, treat people well, because that's the thing that's going to come back every single time. Every single time. Agreed. Girl, I love you.
Love you too.
I'll see you later. Give my regards to Mr. Syfax, and we'll talk soon, okay?
Okay.
All right, honey. Bye-bye. This episode of Mornings with Mova is officially over. I am Andrea Lawful Sanders and Cherise Syfax. I'll see you when I see you. Bye, everybody. Bye, everybody. All right.